Hello everyone. So in the other video that I just posted, I wanted to talk about the other side of the coin that I was talking about. And that's to do with obviously getting a job nowadays. And of course social media has a role to play. And what I mean by that is what you say in social media, take for example on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, your political beliefs, etc. It can all have an effect on your jobs nowadays. What I mean by that, getting a job. And it sadly does, unfortunately, because a lot of employers look up a person's name, for example, if you're going for a job, they look up your name, they look up your Facebook account, stalkers, of course. But that's what they do, just to see what pictures you have on social media and stuff. I've seen that many times before, many employers doing that to people, and I've seen many stories of it across Cavan, across other parts of Ireland, that the employer will look up your name on Google and look up your Facebook account, for example, look at your pictures to see what you're doing, what do you do in your spare time, etc. Just to verify you're the person, etc. And to look into you a bit and to see if your name comes up, say, in a court document or anything like that. Which is not, I don't mind the court document bit, but looking up people's private accounts, etc. And particularly, I've seen many instances. I remember one vaguely from Wexford, just about a month or two ago, that he was applying for a job, I think in a box factory somewhere. And the company, he had the job and all. He done the interview, he had the job and all. And they told him no. And that's because they found his social media account. And he wasn't pro-government, he wasn't with the narrative, he was questioning the narrative. And particularly people coming in on buses in the middle of the night, he was questioning that. And of course the company wasn't for that. The government had given them grants and stuff like that, so they wouldn't go to employ somebody that was very anti-government and stuff. So they got rid of him basically. They said no, even though he had the job and stuff. But that's what they do, unfortunately. They do find your social media accounts. And of course, culture culture too. People find out, if people don't like what you say online, they find out where you work and try and get you sacked. And I say this straight, nobody should be doing that unless you're a criminal, unless you have done stuff bad, have you done really bad to children, etc., or broke the law in that kind of regard. That's the only time somebody probably should be fired. But if you post a thing online just saying, look, I don't agree with this, and I don't agree with this, and I don't agree with that, and I'm not in favour of that, at the end of the day, that's your right, that's your opinion. There's no stopping you from having that opinion. You shouldn't be fired for that. That has happened before. The people were fired for just their opinions online. And I do think people are entitled to opinions, regardless if you work for the Pope or whoever. You're entitled to your opinion, you're entitled to your belief. If it's outside your work hours, of course, as long as you're not in the company saying, oh, this is my view and that's my view. But if it's outside your work hours, it shouldn't be up to the company. The company shouldn't care. Let's put that way. If it's in your work hours, maybe they should care. But after work hours, they shouldn't. But it just goes to show you that this is nearly a big thing nowadays. There's been many cases of this. I even recall many cases, I think even from some parts of Ireland too, looking up photos, old photos. I think there was one case, I remember this vaguely, about 3 or 4 years ago, of a woman that was like had blackface basically. What Justin Trudeau was up to. But this was back, 30 years ago. This was back 30 or 30 years ago. It was a long, long time ago. But the boss still pulled her up and said, the person that she was going for the interview said, what's with this picture here from back fucking donkeys years ago? And they didn't give her the job over it because she was wearing blackface back a long time ago. Like, this was not the day after, the day before it. This was back years and years ago, and I think that was a bit unfair because that was back when she was in college and stuff, and that was a long, long time ago, and I think that was unfair bringing that up because it wasn't yesterday or the day before. It was a long time ago. Like, at the end of the day, if they're going to fault the woman on that, then I don't know what to say, because she's not doing it every day of the week. It'd be different if she was doing it every day of the week. But this is the thing. It's just it's mad what's happening nowadays. But of course, for people like me, and this goes into the next part, for people like me who express the opinion, my name's out there, my face is out there. You haven't got a hope of ever getting a job apart from what I'm at the moment. But of course, my time is running short, unfortunately, at the moment, in terms of what I'm on. I presume going to college, etc. But when I get out of college, there's nothing for me, basically. I know widely. You stand up for your values, and that's what I've done, and I don't regret it. I won't regret it. Regardless of what, I might give up on my career, etc., etc. It might be in the toilet, but still I have my values. I have my soul. I stood up when I seen wrong, and that's what matters. And as a Christian, as a Catholic, that's more the obligation you have to yourself, to society, to the people, to stand up when you see evil, to stand up to evil, to stand up for your values. And I did that, and again, people like me to have done that too. And of course, they're demonised for that by jobs, not getting employed in jobs, etc. That's why you see so many people too with anonymous accounts, etc. Because they're afraid to lose their job. They're afraid to get, if they go for another job, they might not get it because of their political beliefs. And I think that's very wrong. As long as it's not too extreme, like we should, do something terrible or something like that. Fair enough, reasonable enough that if somebody was like, we should do something really, really bad and something like that, fair enough, reasonable enough. But if somebody's just like, I don't agree with the government, bringing in hundreds of millions of people, whatever, they shouldn't be really caring too much about that. But if it's something like you're really insane, then fair enough. But I do think it's important, of course, if you have a criminal record and stuff like that, that's very important. Because you can't just employ somebody that's, has a long criminal history, for example, and there's a danger. But it is over the top nowadays. It really, really is over the top in many regards. But it's quite insane. Now, just even thinking of some of the cases in my head there, it's crazy what you see. But I do think it's unnecessary, particularly for bosses, employers, to be looking at people's Facebook, Twitter accounts to see what they're saying, etc. I think if I was a boss, I'd be only looking up the court records, like the court pages of the newspaper, just to see if your name was mentioned. But apart from that, I couldn't really care less. What you say on Facebook, what you say on Twitter, on YouTube, or whatever. But that's the way it really should be, because I think it's just too much nowadays. Because it leaves people in fear of speaking out against things that are wrong. Or to speak out against things to see in the company or anything like that. Because that's what it's pretty much forcing people to stay quiet. Thankfully, I don't have to abide by them rules. I won't abide, I never will. So, sucks to suck if my employer was watching this. If I ever do get another job, I won't give up on my values, and that's just as simple as that. Regardless of how much I'm getting, regardless of how big of power or job it is, I won't give up on my values. And I haven't given up on them yet, so I'm not going to give up on them until the day I go from this out. And that's as simple as that. But for other people, for only people that work a 9 to 5 and stuff, and maybe want to get another job and stuff, go for an interview and stuff, and they just share a treat or something like that. Like, I've seen this before, people just sharing a treat or sharing a message from somebody else that's cost them their jobs. It's absolutely insane. I know it's laughable. It's laughable that this is the case. Just for other stuff, like, it's laughable. It really, really is. Like in England, for example, in communist England, people getting arrested for calling out their councillors. It's absolutely insane. But yeah, the people lose their jobs over that for calling out the local councillor, Labour councillor. Like, it's insane. What the West has turned into. But anyway, let me know what you think. Let me know if you ever experienced something like that. Subscribe for more, and bye.